My earliest clear memory is of my 3-year-old self racing up our stairs, shouting, "I want to be the winnest." The concept of being the winnest has continued to shape my life. And today I'm going to talk to you about what I have learned about becoming the winnest from moving my body in a mindful way. I will explain how science is aligned to what I have experienced, and I will make some predictions about what I believe science will show in the future. Not just about improving yourself, but optimizing yourself, about creating the best version of you, about becoming the winnest. Being fixed and rigid is not a useful way to be if you want to optimize your life. Nature is one of our best teachers, perhaps the greatest of all, and I believe this tree clearly shows that rigidity is the path to death. We need to be in a state of continual growth and change. We need to become a process, not a fixed position. I am has little use in this reality. Currently I am is a much more useful way to view things. If you want to change something, anything, it must be able to move. If you want to change your thoughts or emotions, actions or habits, it will be really useful to understand how that works, how movement and change works. I would say that currently, the way in which we're trying to move and change things is not working very well. Mental ill health is now the single biggest cause of disability in this country. The aggregate cost to the UK economy of mental health problems is over £105 billion. And if you consider that 3/4 of people in this country will never even receive treatment for their mental health problems, I think you can see that we're in a place that needs to change. So what if there was a way of changing who we are that was completely natural, that required no medication, no psychiatrists, and no therapists? What if there was a way of moving our perspective, of changing who we are from the inside out, that would solve many of the problems we are facing today in a balanced and holistic manner? This is some data from a team at the University of Missouri, and it exemplifies much of the research that is going on around the world investigating the effects of exercise on well-being. In this study, they investigated depression and anxiety, and they tested it before and after a 12-week exercise program. The graph clearly shows that people who exercise will feel significantly less depressed than people that don't exercise. And my second graph from the same study shows the effects of exercise on anxiety. Again, the graph clearly shows that people that exercise will feel significantly less anxious than people who don't exercise. The science is really clear on this. So exercise is amazing. It's awesome. Not only will it make you feel physically healthier and fitter, but it will positively affect your cognitive and emotional well-being. And that is a scientific fact. But my talk is not just about exercising. It is about mindful movement, about exercising with focused attention. And this is where the evidence trail currently ends. As far as I'm aware, there has been no published research investigating mindful movement. However, if you read the revolutionary book, Spark, How Exercise Will Improve the Performance of Your Brain, by Harvard professor of psychiatry, John Ratey, you will see that he says that although there is no evidence to suggest that one type of exercise is greater than another, that he suspects that activities such as gymnastics, dance, and martial arts will prove to be the best. And it is my opinion that this will happen because those types of activities best facilitate the practice of mindful movement. So I'm going to expand a little bit about this concept of mindful movement by telling you a short story. I read recently that it could be argued that if the Cold War was judged on the number of Olympic medals won during this era, that although the United States won many medals, the Soviet Union eclipsed them. This is because the Soviet Union became completely fanatical about human performance. They created research institutes that were dedicated to creating the best soldiers, cosmonauts, and Olympians the world had ever seen. They employed their greatest minds to come up with engineering and scientific frameworks to study and analyze movement masters, to work out how these people did what they did, and to recreate training programs to reproduce their results. The final part of this story takes a slightly unexpected twist because it involves the United States and the Soviet Union, as it was, collaborating on a project. About 20 years ago, a young martial artist, traveled from the United States to take part in an international Sambo competition. Sambo being a form of full-contact fighting originating from the Soviet Union. This young man fought his way through to one of the final bouts. He got himself into a position whereby, if he did not submit or tap out, the United States were guaranteed a medal. However, in this fight, he was outclassed by a superior opponent. And at some point during the fight, he got himself put into a submission hold, an arm bar, which basically means your arm is fully extended on the ground, your body is immobilized, and pressure is applied at your elbow. The normal course of events at this point is to submit or tap out, because it's basically impossible to get out of in a competition if it's fully applied by a skilled adversary. But due to the life experiences that this young man had gone through in his life, he took the decision not to tap, and subsequently had his arm snapped. This was an international competition, which meant the referees did not speak all languages. So any vocal sound was considered a submission. So not only did he have to continue the rest of the fight with pressure being still applied to that broken arm, but he had to do so in complete silence. This young man, whose name was Scott Sonnen, or is Scott Sonnen, was later approached by delegates from the Soviet Union's research institutes and invited to come and train with them, uniquely invited to come and train with them. They saw something special in him, and they thought they could help him fulfill his potential. So for the next 6 years, Scott Sonnen trained intensively, learning a system of movement that he would later call health-first fitness. He would learn that the ego-centered attitude of "I'll hear it snap before I tap" was actually unhelpful to fulfilling his potential. And for the last 15 years, he has traveled the world teaching special forces, elite athletes, and other people that want to learn and to share his message of health-first fitness. Let me just explain a little bit about what I mean by health-first fitness. Most fitness or physical training has some sort of goal. Most of the time that goal's on losing weight, maybe body fat, or getting stronger, or increasing your cardiovascular output. In what we're doing, what I'm talking about is our primary focus is our health. That's what we focus on. The other things come, of course, but the primary focus is on health. So this afternoon, in the break, I'm going to be running a workshop. This is a foundation-level workshop into health-first fitness. It's open to everyone, and I guarantee you every single person in here would be able to take part. So I've talked about movement, and I believe all of you have an internal idea of what movement means to you. But what about mindfulness? What does mindfulness mean? Well, it has been defined as the attentive awareness of the reality of things. Now, that's quite a complex definition, I feel, but the basic practice is in fact extremely simple. It just involves you noticing your inhalation and your exhalation. That's it. But this practice is so incredibly powerful that clinical psychologists around the world are currently using it to help treat people with a whole plethora of health issues, including anxiety, stress, chronic pain, binge eating, and depression, and to help create a positive state of mind for moving forward in your life. So the next question is there a difference between exercising and moving mindfully? I believe the slide that I showed you earlier demonstrates this idea really, really well. Over here, we have this person running on a treadmill with her attention focused on her laptop. Now, I'd like to make it clear, I think this sort of movement, and most types of movement and exercise, is fantastic. It can yield great results and is really good for you. I'm not dismissing it, I think it's great. But the thing is, her attention is split. We've created machines that allow us to not have our minds on what we're doing, to have them externally focused. And if you go to almost any gym in the world, you'll see people in complicated machines with headphones on, reading a magazine and watching TV, probably all three all at once. Whereas on the right, you have this amazing lady, my friend Angela Fisher, swinging club bells. You've probably never heard of club bell swinging, but it is in fact one of the most ancient physical practices in the world. If you look at her face, you can see that she is completely engaged in what she is doing. She has to be. Now this is the key point, so this is where you really need to pay attention. If we take club bell swinging as an example, as we weave continually, incrementally sophisticating patterns and structures with our body, our minds are paying attention. In the moment, from moment to moment. As our bodies are becoming fitter, stronger, more agile, more resilient, and better able to recover, our minds are paying attention and learning. This morning I was looking on Facebook and I came across this quote. Man is most, by a Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, man is most nearly himself when he achieves the seriousness of a child at play. Look at these two pictures. Is she at play? I don't think she's at play, because her focus has to be on something else. She needs something else to divert herself from what she's doing. Look at Angela's face. I think she fits that quote exactly. Now, in some ways what I'm saying is quite revolutionary, because there is no evidence, no scientific evidence that backs up what I'm saying. But there is loads of evidence, scientifically proven, that the practices of mindfulness and exercise are two of the greatest practices that you can do to help your well-being, to improve yourself. And it is my belief that it is in the unity of these two practices that we can evolve to the state of being that can solve many of the problems that we are currently facing in the world today. I believe that if you perceive yourself to be both art and artist, through the practice of mindful movement, you can create the wisest, kindest, healthiest, happiest, most useful version of yourself imaginable. I believe that through the practice of mindful movement, you can become the winnest. Thank you very much.